3 signs you've reached the untouchable frequency of the elite dark chosen ones. There comes a moment in every seeker's path when the veil begins to thin, when what once looked like reality begins to fracture, revealing layers beneath the surface, ancient codes, unspoken laws, and a truth so powerful it could collapse the world you once believed was real. Most people live their lives in the echo chamber of programmed thought, chasing illusions, fearing shadows, and craving validation. But there are a few, very few, who transcend the matrix, pierce through the hologram of consensus reality, and awaken the dark and sacred frequency that only the elite chosen ones can wield. This is not for the faint-hearted. This is not about love and light or peace and comfort. This is about power. This is about the frequency that makes you untouchable, not because you fight, but because you vibrate too high to even be seen by lower forces. Have you felt it? That eerie calm when the world is burning around you, and yet you are still. Not numb, just beyond. The first sign you've reached this frequency is the unmistakable silence of your presence. I'm not talking about being quiet. I'm talking about the kind of presence that bends time. People feel it when you enter a room. They don't know why they're staring at you or why they suddenly become nervous or excited, but you do. There's a stillness that emanates from within you, like a black hole absorbing noise, chaos, and even attention. You no longer seek to be seen because you know you cannot be unseen. This silence is not passive. It is the sound of 1,000 lifetimes of wisdom compressed into the now. It is the echo of your soul remembering who you are. And when you reach this level, you realize most people are addicted to noise because they are terrified of meeting themselves in the quiet.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Have you ever sat alone in silence and felt like you were standing in front of an ancient mirror, one that didn't reflect your face but your essence? When you reach this frequency, that mirror appears everywhere, in strangers, in dreams, in numbers that keep repeating themselves, in synchronicities so precise that they feel scripted, but nothing is scripted. You've simply stepped into the architect's blueprint, where every thought becomes a thread in reality. You begin to realize that manifestation isn't magic, it's mathematics. The elite dark chosen ones don't manifest like everyone else. They command, quietly, without effort, because they are not asking, they are remembering. And the universe responds to remembrance with obedience. The second sign is the shattering of identity. Not the kind of ego death that's romanticized in mainstream spirituality, where you have a good cry after a retreat and post about it on Instagram. No, this is raw, violent, unforgiving. It's the kind of ego death that rips your life apart. You lose people, you lose status, you lose everything you thought mattered. And it's not because you are being punished, it's because the frequency you're rising into cannot carry the weight of falsehood. Every mask must fall. Every lie you've told yourself must burn. And in that fire, you either scream and run back into the illusion, or you stand still and let the flames purify you. Most people run. But if you're still here, if you've survived the fire, then welcome. You are not broken. You are forged. I remember the moment I realized I no longer belonged to the world. It wasn't glorious. It was terrifying. My friends stopped calling. My desires evaporated. My old dreams felt foreign. I looked in the mirror and didn't see a person, I saw a force. And it scared me. Because I knew I could no longer play small. I could no longer pretend. The game was over. And that's when I understood the chosen ones are not chosen by fate, they are chosen by fire. They are the ones who didn't run. They are the ones who stayed when it got dark. They are the ones who learned to breathe in the underworld and came back with secrets too heavy for the average soul to carry. The third sign is what I call the untouchable field. It's an energetic shield that doesn't repel attacks, it makes you invisible to them. You don't fight back because there is nothing to fight. The moment something tries to harm you, it dissolves. Not because you're lucky, but because your frequency is incompatible with lower vibrations. This is the realm where abundance finds you, where danger avoids you, and where people either worship or fear you without knowing why. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. And it's lonely. Make no mistake, this level is not crowded. You will lose many, but you will gain yourself. Let me ask you something. Are you willing to be misunderstood for the rest of your life, to live in alignment with your highest frequency? Or are you still seeking approval from those who cannot even see you? You see, the elite dark chosen ones don't wear robes or chant in temples. They walk among us, quiet, observant, disconnected from the noise. They don't preach, they radiate. They don't argue, they simply are. And when they speak, it's not to teach, it's to trigger remembrance in others. That's the real mission, not to be followed but to awaken, not to lead but to illuminate. Because once you've reached this frequency, you realize that power is not about control, it's about coherence. When your insides match the laws of the universe, you don't need to force anything. The cosmos bends to your will, and your will is not born from desire, it is born from destiny. So many people want to ascend, but they don't want to let go. They want to rise without burning. But the elite, dark, chosen ones know the truth. There is no ascension without annihilation. You must die 1,000 little deaths before you are crowned in silence. And that crown, it's invisible. You don't wear it, you become it. Now, take a breath. Let that sink in. You are not who you think you are. You are who you are when there is nothing left to prove, nothing left to protect, and nothing left to fear. That is when the frequency activates. That is when the codes unlock. That is when you become untouchable. The invisible crown, how the elite dark chosen ones transcend the human matrix. There is a moment in your journey when you stop trying to escape the matrix and instead you start bending it. Not with rebellion, not with noise, but with sheer frequency. That's what the invisible crown is. It isn't something placed on your head by others. It's something you grow into, silently, through unbearable solitude, inner death, and radical self-remembrance. The elite dark chosen ones have all worn this crown not because they sought power, but because they became power. It's a resonance, a frequency so refined that the illusions of the world begin to rearrange themselves in your presence, and not because you demanded it, but because you remembered who you are. When you transcend the matrix, it doesn't mean you leave the world. It means the world no longer defines you. You could be sitting in traffic, answering emails, folding laundry, and yet you are no longer in it. You are observing it, moving through it, playing with it. Your identity detaches from the character you once played, and your awareness expands beyond the scene. To most people, this sounds like fantasy. But to the initiated, this is reality. The matrix is not a place. It is a frequency band. And when you rise above it, you don't become superior, you become sovereign. But sovereignty is not loud. It doesn't scream, "Look at me, I'm awakened." It whispers through your actions. It radiates through your stillness. It transmits through your eyes. The invisible crown is seen only by those who are also wearing it. To everyone else, you're simply different, too calm, too intense, too unpredictable, too free. And that makes people uncomfortable, because the matrix is built on predictability, on roles, on control. And your existence becomes a glitch in that system. You begin to notice how people react to you either with admiration, confusion, or fear. But none of it matters, because you are no longer fed by their reaction. You are nourished by your own alignment. One of the most profound signs that you've stepped into this untouchable frequency is that you no longer seek to be understood. You stop needing to explain your decisions, your shifts, your silence. You start recognizing that your journey is encoded in such a unique way that most people won't be able to comprehend the moves you make. And that's okay. The elite dark chosen ones live their lives like whispers in the wind, heard only by those with ears to hear. Every step becomes a message, every silence a teaching, every challenge a portal. You don't run from pain anymore. You meet it. You invite it. You alchemize it. Because you've realized pain is not the enemy. Forgetfulness is. What if I told you that your suffering was never punishment? What if it was preparation? What if every betrayal, every heartbreak, every breakdown was a test to see if you were willing to let go of everything false to claim everything real? That's what the invisible crown demands. Not just sacrifice, but total surrender. Not just detachment, but devotion. To what? To truth. Not the truth that comforts. The truth that shatters. Because only when the false self is destroyed can the true self emerge. And when it does, you realize you were never seeking freedom. You were seeking yourself. There's a sacred loneliness that comes with this path. You start to feel like a ghost in your own life. Old conversations bore you. Old habits disgust you. Old dreams dissolve. You're not depressed. You're just shedding. And it's terrifying. Because the Matrix convinces you that if you lose your identity, you'll disappear. But the chosen ones know, when you lose who you thought you were, you begin to remember who you've always been. Now ask yourself, what are you still clinging to that is dragging down your frequency? What illusion are you protecting because you're afraid of who you'll become without it? The black flame within, why chaos becomes your ally when you rise. At a certain point in your awakening, you stop fearing chaos not because you've tamed it, but because you've become it. This is the secret no one tells you. The deeper you go into the frequency of the elite dark chosen ones, the more you realize that what the world calls chaos is simply unprocessed truth. It's the raw, unfiltered, untamed current of reality before it's shaped by the mind, before it's diluted by fear. Most people run from it because they've been taught that chaos is dangerous. But when you rise, when your frequency begins to crack the walls of your old self, you start to see that chaos is not your enemy, it is your ally. It is the black flame within, the sacred fire that purifies what is false and amplifies what is real. You've probably felt it. Moments in your life when everything fell apart, when the structures you trusted crumbled, when people left, when your plans turned to dust, and in that collapse, something ancient stirred in you. At first, it felt like despair. But if you listened closely, beneath the noise there was a murmur, a whisper, a knowing. That something greater was being built in the ruins. That something deeper was being awakened through the destruction. That's the black flame. It doesn't burn to destroy. It burns to reveal. It exposes the useless scaffolding you've built around your soul, the roles, the attachments, the illusions, and it invites you to step into the formless, the unknown. And here's the paradox. The more you resist it, the more it hurts. The more you surrender to it, the more you rise. The elite dark chosen ones do not avoid chaos, they walk into it with open eyes and open hands. Why? Because they know that chaos is coded. It is not random, it is intelligent. It is a divine recalibration. When your life begins to fall apart, it is not because you are cursed, it is because you are being stripped of everything that cannot survive your next frequency. And the faster you let go, the faster you ascend. But surrender isn't passive. It's not about sitting back and letting life toss you around. It's about standing so still in the storm that the storm begins to orbit around your center. That is power. That is the untouchable field. You become the eye of the hurricane, unmoved, aware, watching things collapse around you, but knowing that you are not what is collapsing. You are what remains. You are what watches. And from that place, chaos becomes your forge. It becomes your sculptor. It begins to shape you into something that cannot be explained, only experienced. There's something deeply sacred about chaos once you stop fearing it. You begin to see it in others not as dysfunction, but as awakening. When someone is losing their mind, they might be finding their soul. When someone is breaking down, they might be breaking through. Can you hold space for that? Can you hold space for your own darkness, your own unraveling without trying to fix it, or numb it, or flee from it? Because the moment you can, you will feel something ignite inside you, a fire that doesn't consume but illuminates. That's the black flame. The elite dark chosen ones carry this flame in silence. They don't brag about their pain. They don't perform their healing. They simply walk with a depth in their eyes that says, "I've died and returned," and people feel it. They don't know why they trust you or fear you. They just do. Because your presence speaks the ancient language of transformation, the language of fire, the language of chaos. You become an embodiment of what most people suppress, and that makes you magnetic. Not because you're trying to attract, but because you are embodying truth in a world addicted to lies. Let me ask you something. What if everything falling apart in your life right now is actually falling into place? What if the chaos isn't there to punish you but to purify you? What if the black flame inside you is waiting for your permission to rise, not to destroy your life, but to destroy what is no longer worthy of you? This is the level where you stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop trying to make your old life fit your new frequency. You stop explaining your expansion to those who only understand contraction. You stop making yourself smaller to keep others comfortable. Because once the black flame is lit, the old world cannot hold you, and you don't even mourn it. You just walk away, silently, powerfully, without apology. And in that silence you become the chaos. But not the chaos that wounds, the chaos that awakens, the chaos that liberates. The chaos that burns illusions to the ground and reveals the temple beneath the rubble. The chaos that doesn't beg to be understood but demands to be felt. The final veil. What happens when you're truly untouchable? There is a moment on this path, rare, silent, irreversible, when the last veil drops. It doesn't happen with fireworks. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives like a whisper. And in that whisper, everything changes. You're not seeking anymore. You're not climbing, not healing, not proving, not chasing. You've become still, not because you've given up, but because you've arrived. This is what it means to be untouchable. Not that nothing happens to you, but that nothing defines you. Not that pain disappears, but that you no longer suffer through it. You witness it. You let it move. You let it pass. You are not the pain. You are the presence behind it. When you reach this place, the world stops having power over you. The opinions, the praise, the criticism, the expectations, they all become background noise. You don't reject them. You just see through them. You realize that most of what people think is just projection. Most of what they fear isn't real. Most of what they desire is borrowed. And you're no longer in that game. You're not playing the human drama with the same rules. You're watching it unfold like a dream you once believed was real. And now, you're lucid, awake, free. But freedom is not the blissful escape you thought it would be. It's deeper, it's quieter, it's more demanding. Because now you carry something sacred. You carry a code, a frequency, a presence that changes spaces. And with that comes responsibility, not to fix others, not to teach them, but to embody the truth so powerfully that it becomes a mirror. The elite dark chosen ones don't walk around preaching. They walk around radiating. Their silence says more than most people's words. Their eyes see past the surface. Their energy either activates or expels. They don't force anything. They don't chase anything. They simply exist in such alignment that everything not meant for them dissolves before it even arrives. You'll notice something strange when you reach this level. People start confessing things to you. Strangers feel safe telling you their deepest fears. Others avoid you without knowing why. Animals approach you. Children either run to you or stare at you as if they remember something ancient. Technology sometimes glitches around you. Time feels different. Sometimes you know things before they happen. You begin to sense energy as clearly as sound. And above all, you feel empty, not in a hollow way, but in a vast, limitless way. You are no longer full of identities. You are simply space, spaciousness, awareness, presence. And in that space, the final knowing arises: nothing can touch you because there is no you to be touched. The self you defended, protected, and built for years was never real. It was a costume, a vessel, a role. And now you are playing no role. You are the actor who has stepped off the stage, smiling at the drama still unfolding, but no longer bound by it. That's the ultimate freedom, not escape, but transcendence. So now I ask you, what are you still clinging to that's keeping you from disappearing into your true self? What mask are you still wearing to be loved by people who don't even know who they are? When you become truly untouchable, life doesn't get easier. It gets quieter, more direct, more meaningful. You may lose much, but what remains is real. You don't need crowds. You don't need applause. You don't even need to be known. You've become the mountain, the storm, the stillness. You've become the frequency that others feel but cannot name. And that is the path of the elite, dark, chosen ones. Not fame, not recognition, but embodiment. You are the temple. You are the flame. You are the end of seeking. And now you walk alone, not because you're lonely, but because you're whole.